You're listening to the Coach's Journey podcast, exposing the struggles and celebrating the successes in the life of coaches who are action takers and creating authentic impact in today's world. Whether you're just starting out, expanding your reach, or exploding your impact, you're in the right place right now. Stay tuned and be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Now, here are your hosts of the Coach's Journey podcast.
Welcome to the Coach's Journey podcast. Today, you need to listen to this podcast if you're a coach and you're thinking about sales. Because if you're not thinking about sales, you need to listen to, because you need to know why you need to be thinking about sales. If sales is something that you're like, I don't need to know sales, or I don't want to do sales, or whatever it is, you need to listen today. It's going to be amazing. Faisal and I both ran a masterclass and on this process. And so what we're talking about today is why your sales process isn't working. And so if you do have a sales process, I want you to confirm that you have it by writing it down. If you can't write it down, it's not a process. And if you don't have a sales process, today's session is going to be amazing for you too, because we're going to talk about what we learned about delivering this masterclass on the sales process to our coaches. So got both Faisal here and myself, Daniel, and we have done sales in coaching. And so we kind of know the process. And so we want to share our insights together with what we learned on the masterclass and what our coaches have shared. Faisal?
Yeah, and I would say if you can't write down your process, or at least you don't have a system around it, then you likely don't have clients, or you don't have a consistent set of clients. And that is a problem in the coaching business. And one of the things that we're hearing over and over from coaches is that I don't know how to get clients, or I don't know how to keep it consistent. They keep going through that roller coaster of they'll get a couple of clients for a few months and then they run out. And then they'll get a couple of clients for a few months, they'll run out. And on average, most coaches even struggle to even get clients. But even the ones that do get clients, it's up and down. And that is a roller coaster that you wanna avoid and you wanna minimize. And you wanna create a process that actually consistently gets you clients on a long-term basis. And that's what we want to talk about today. And that's what we did our masterclass. And if you're in our Facebook group and you're watching this live, if you didn't attend the masterclass, you're missing out on a lot, because we did 2 hours of that masterclass and we walked you through the whole process. And we also got feedback from other coaches who were attending there too. So we gave a bunch of resources around that will get you kickstarted on this path to actually connecting with clients. If you weren't there, please type or hashtag sales so we can give you the recording for the masterclass. That will be very valuable for you. And aside from that, we're going to jump in and try to talk a little bit about what we are hearing from coaches and what's actually working out in the coaching world and what's not. And both Daniel and I have been doing this for 9-10 years plus. We've run into our fair share of what's working and what's not working. And we're also learning too in the process. So we're not pretending that we know all of this stuff. We want you to understand what it looks like as you're building a sustainable coaching business.
Yeah. And Faisal and I are at different places in our coaching businesses, right? I run my personal coaching business on a part-time basis, and Faisal runs his on a more full-time basis. And so we both have different places that we need to work on in the sales process. So Faisal, why don't we, first of all, just remind people what the sales process is, and then we can talk about all the things, right?
So yeah, let's talk about the different pieces of it, and then we'll go into what are the essential ones that you need to get started with. And I have the framework in front of me.
And this is a specific, I can kick us off with that. This is a specific framework around outreach and organically connecting with people. So step one is outreach, prospecting, making sure that you are consistently reaching out to people that could become clients, that you could serve, that you could help. Step two is connecting with those clients. Maybe it's a short call with them to see, hey, is there a value add in this relationship? Can I help this person? Do they have something that I can really make a difference for with them? And if there isn't, that's fine. But if there is, step three is actually get them on a coaching call. That connecting step isn't necessarily coaching. It's, should we try coaching together? Step three is you coach them and you offer them an offer. That may be one call, maybe two calls, like whatever it takes. My last client that I did that step three with, I actually did 2 calls with them before I made the offer. But a lot of times I just do 1 call. It depends. And then the last 3 steps are step 4. If you get a no, it doesn't mean no. It means it's not a fit right now. maybe maybe it is a fit, but later it can mean a lot of things. So don't take it personally. Follow up. Step 4 is follow up. They say that the magic is in the follow up. The sales are in the follow up. So follow up, because you need to have like 4 or 5 touches of follow up before somebody's like, oh yeah, this person actually cares about me, is interested about me, remembers me, all that stuff. And then step 5, get referrals. Who do you know? Ask people who you know. Even if they're not going to be your client, you can ask them for referrals. And step 6 is continue to maintain those relationships over time. It's called nurturing. So those are the 6 steps: prospecting, outreach, connecting with them, checking if it's a fit to do a coaching call, do the coaching call, at some point make an offer either in that call or in a second call or whatever works for whatever you're doing. Then continue to follow up with people, especially those who said no, and then ask for referrals, and then maintain and nurture those relationships.
Yeah. What I love about this is that it shows a journey that the client goes through. And many people, coaches who learn this out in the marketing world, they learn it at a very high scale level. It's that, hey, make sure you send them an email list, make sure you send them all that stuff. Well, until you build all that stuff and until you have a large following, you will probably need to do this manually. And I want to, and here's the thing that I think a lot of times we solve for scale when we don't need to solve. And I've done that so many times in my business, and it just doesn't work.
That's totally true. Totally true. When I first started out myself, I had these giant spreadsheets of all the steps that would be in the process. I was like, how many, like, I didn't actually make a list of people that I was keeping in touch with. I was like trying to build a system way before I actually got into conversations with people. It was like so engineering of me. I engineered the whole system without actually having experience to engineer the right thing. And that took a lot of time. Like, I need to build a website. I wasn't actually doing the process to learn the process. I was actually trying to create all these tools and things that who knows if they were applicable at that stage in my journey.
Yeah. And it's really funny because I haven't just seen this in the coaching world. I've also seen it. I work with real estate investors, and they usually, because especially capital raisers, they usually have to take people through a funnel, and they're taught that in their programs. But when you look at what they're doing, and I actually ran into that with one of my clients who was getting a little bit discouraged and stuff. And I'm like, okay, share what you're doing. And I went more into the mentoring role a little bit. And as I looked at his, I'm like, it sounds like the thing that you need to do is, because he was kind of waiting for the company to build his website and then funnel and all that stuff. But the main thing he needed to do is kind of put himself out there and start reaching out to investors. And I'm like, when are you doing that in your plan? He's like, well, once I build all this stuff up, then I'm going to do it. It's same example as coaching.
Once I X, Y, Z, I will start having conversations. Classic.
And they will sit on that. We all do. I did that too. So this is not like pointing finger. We all do it. It's one of those funny things that we all do. But here's the thing.
It can take months or years to get over that. Like, it took me years to actually like figure out that, like, actually that's where the real iteration and consistency has to be, is having those conversations. And it's just way easier not to. Because those conversations are a risk of rejection. There are conversations that are a risk of doing something hard. There's so many reasons why we might not do it, we might resist it. So, you can waste a lot of time.
Yeah. And then we've talked about this so many times that a lot, like the harder things to do in business are actually get in conversation, connect with people. Because I mean, they're complicated. Like one of the hardest things for human beings generally is a social environment. Like being able to think about how many people, when they go to events or parties, how many people, especially like in the Western world, that you will go and you will want to have a couple of drinks. And why do they have a couple of drinks? Because they have social anxiety a lot of times, and they want to alleviate that, which is fine. But then the same thing shows up when you're connecting with people. And especially when you're asking them for something, especially when you're offering a service, a lot of insecurities come up. Even people who have done sales in the background, when they offer their own thing, it is so different, because you could sell somebody else's program. They say no, it's like, who cares? Let's move on to the next one. But if you sell your own thing, and especially that your brand is you, your program is you associate it with your identity, and it becomes really hard to take that step. And especially when you start to hear, no, you've done it a few times, like, oh shit, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. That's just a sales process.
Yeah, and actually, it's a really good point. Like, in the offer, you're like, if you think people are just going to say yes to you all the time, or you shouldn't do the call, like, then you got to rethink the way you think about this, because it's actually a percentage. So think about the word percentage in terms of your offers. when you make an offer, you should know and expect that a percentage of them will say no and a percentage of them will say yes. And those no's are usually not yet. And so those percentages can change over time if you do the follow-up step number 4. And so when you get on a call, make an offer, if you can be okay with them saying no, if you can allow them to be where they are, and at the same time, if no is not the right answer for them, you may need to coach them through that. Sometimes they say no for the wrong reasons. And you as a coach, that's the thing I love about the sales process is actually it forces you to become a better coach. If you can coach through objections, if you can coach through challenges in their life around signing up for coaching in a way that actually is right for them, if they are authentically like deciding for themselves, not because of you, not you pushing a sale on them, because both of you are totally convinced that this is the right thing for their lives, and helping them get over that hump of like, oh, but like, you know, like, I don't believe that that's going to work for me. And if you can demonstrate in the sales call that it's going to work because you work through stuff together, then you can get out of your own way by expecting it's not going to work 100% of the time. You know, you can have a percentage of people who it's not going to be right for. And if you expect that as a possibility and release it and let it go, then you'll be able to do more sales calls and know, like, it's okay. I'm going to follow up with them until they tell me to stop, or maybe they'll sign up and that's okay. But you need to do a certain number of calls before you actually get a conversion and somebody buying your process, right? And so just think about that. It's like Rich Lippman says, yes lives in the land of no. So if you're not willing to go into the land of no because it's scary, then you're probably not going to find the yes. But it's out there. Every no you collect, like, yes, I'm collecting another no. That means I'm in the game looking for that yes, right?
And I want to throw some numbers in here so you understand how it actually works. So if you're not a good salesperson or you haven't done sales for a while, a good assumption is just know that one in 10 calls will be a sales. Will likely be a sale. It's an assumption in the beginning, assumption. And I'll even share with you, like last couple of months, I tweaked some of my stuff for my like sales process where my clients are coming from. The conversion rate that I was so used to, it completely bombed. Like I went from like doing after every 3 or 4 calls, I started signing up people after 12 calls. Like, what the hell is happening?
Wait, Faisal, what did you change? I just want to know.
They came from a different source. They were nurtured.
Oh, okay. So you had one source of leads that were coming in and converting at every 3 or 4 clients, and then you added another source and you expect the same conversion rate, but it wasn't there yet because you haven't tweaked that process because they have a different positioning for you.
Yeah. So 2 things. 1, where it came from. 2, what the offer switched a little bit too. So both of them switched, and I'm looking, I'm like, I've had 12 calls that I'm not signing up. I mean, what the hell is going on? And then I had
new positioning, new offer. Of course, it's going to be different.
Yeah. But it hit because I'm so used to that. It didn't hit me until I go through. I'm like, holy shit, I need to adjust this. But when you're starting new, you have no idea what you need to adjust to begin with, what your offer looks like. How do you refine it? What the nurturing cycle is. So you need to get in the game and be okay with the no's. And I was actually talking to one of our members yesterday. I had a session with him. He will know who he is. He's probably watching it in the group. And he had actually something come up where somebody he potentially could do group coaching for a friend's program. And he was kind of following with that for like a few weeks. And he was asking me for feedback and I was giving him feedback. And then came to when he got on the call, not only did the person he was not even open to the sales, but he was actually trying to sell a program to him the other way around, which is, I found that hilarious, but he felt bad.
That happens. If you don't pre-qualify, it'll happen.
So he's describing to me, he's like, oh my God, I put in all this effort. And then I looked at him like, so I've gone through like 15 of those in the past couple of years. It's like, that's just the process but because that was like one of his first ones. Or one of the first couple, like he felt like, oh, it was a big deal. That's just how it is.
Yeah, you're making a really, really profound point, Faisal. And for all the coaches out there who are listening, who are thinking like, I don't want to put in all the work to prepare for, do the call, and then realize it's not going to work. It's part of doing the work. You got to do the reps. Like, it's like saying, I don't want to do the reps in the gym, so I'm not going to be able to be strong. It's like saying, I don't want to run 100 meters, so I'm never going to run the marathon. You got to put in the reps. You got to keep working at it and put in a lot of work because you're trying to serve and make a difference for people. Sometimes You're going to put in all that work and be really excited about this client. They're going to come in and try to sell you something because they think you're leading their funnel. And actually, it's possible the thing they're offering you is actually exactly what you need.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's
You
fine.
never
If
know.
they have a program for you, great.
Yeah. And maybe not. Like, but it's okay. Like, the key is do the work, be open to the person in front of you, do your best to serve them. And like, you never know where that relationship could go if you're open like that. You don't have to buy whatever they're selling if they're trying to sell you something. They don't have to buy whatever you're selling if you're trying to sell something. But the idea is you're building a connection. You're building a relationship. You're here to help and serve. And the simplest way to convert into a client is like, if what you did with them was awesome and they loved it, just say like, hey, do you want to continue? Would you like to keep on going? And you saw what we did here today. Would you like to keep on doing that? And if they're like, yeah, then you can say like, well, let me tell you a little bit about how to do that. It's really simple. You can just say like, hey, we can do more conversations like this. That's what I do. And so I can create these amazing conversations for you over and over again. Here's what it costs. Like, this is oversimplification, but you can do that.
Yeah. And I want to share a couple other, and going back to the conversation, because most coaches try to solve for scale. They will go build their website, their funnels and all that stuff. Those are all good things, but you don't actually need that right now. You will build better funnels and websites afterwards when your messaging is refined. But I'll give you some numbers around my own business. So here's what happened. A couple of years ago, I started, like 2.5 years or so ago, I started doing this live coaching session around vision and everything. And I was refining it in our community here. And I started doing it. And when I started, I did it for about 4 months consistently. And I was getting 1 or 2 clients a month consistently out of that. It was just, and there weren't that many people showing up. I didn't have a large following or anything. There were like 7, 6, 5, sometimes 2 people will show up on the call, but consistently I'll end up with 1 or 2 clients every month. Here's what happened. I started doing other efforts. They were less of an effort, but I realized that takes a lot less energy. I'll go show up to somebody else's community. I'll do that. It worked. But over the past couple of years, as I've hired business coaches, pretty much all of them have said, like, they've asked me this one question, like, why did you stop that? Why did you do this? And as soon as they asked me, it just hit me. And even today I was doing some calculations and I want to share those numbers with you a little bit. So right now, my goal is to hit 1 million in sales. For me to do that, I need to close 10 group coaching clients. So if I just did, so I was doing 1 or 2 sales out of that masterclass, or that coaching session, that group coaching session. If I kept going and kept refining, I would have probably by now ended up with 8 or 10 or 7.
But you stopped doing the thing that works.
I stopped doing the thing because I had no idea. I'm like, well, let me do the thing that takes less effort.
That's hilarious.
Like,
I want people to know, like, number one, Faisal's not saying he's selling group coaching for $100,000. He's saying to hit his goal, he only needs 10 more group coaching clients to get there. He's almost there, basically, is what you're saying, right?
Per month. So to hit 1 million for my, I need 110 group coaching clients per year, right? So I need to hit 10 per month to hit that goal in 1 year. And of course, I'm not taking into account the one-on-ones that are going to come out of this.
Yeah.
So that comes up to about, I think, 700,000, something like that.
So you can work backwards and figure out what he charges for group coaching if you want to, but that's not the point.
It's 6,000. I'm okay with share. Right now, it's 6,000. I think it's going to go up to 7,000. But like it's a simple, like, if I had continued that and kept refining that, I would have. But I didn't stick to it long enough, and I switched strategy. And every time you switch strategy and do all sorts of other things, weird things. Right now, I just did it last month. I got 1 client out of it.
Welcome back to do the thing that works. I can't tell you how many times I stopped doing the exact thing that got me the client in the first place. There might be some subconscious resistance, or might be like, oh, I got these cool ideas. Let me go do these ideas. But if you know something works, refine it. Get it to a place where it's working consistently, and don't stop that. If it stops working, then you might need to change something, right? But if it's working, it's working. So the reason why I'm sharing this is that if you look at it, like 10 clients a month at the group level is not that many clients. Like, of course, if you're starting out, that's hard to think, but you might just need 10 clients overall for the whole year. You might not, like in the beginning, all I needed was just 10 clients. And most coaches that I've talked to, they need, on average, they're saying that I need 10 or 12 clients who are going to pay me 5,000, 6,000, something like that, or 3,000. That's the average that I've heard starting out. For that, you just need to have like 100 conversations, coaching conversations, or at least get consistently 100 people on a group call
and sell your coaching services, however you want to do it. If you're starting out, you don't have facilitation and group skills, the easiest thing might be to just get on a one-on-one call and refine your skill sets. A lot of people might say, hey, just do group calls from the beginning. Sure, if you want to build the skill set of group facilitation and coaching and sales and marketing, all of it at the same exact time, go for it. A little bit longer.
Stuff.
For me, it was like I was just figuring out how to do like one-on-one conversation. It was tough enough to do that, to figure out how those work and how they convert into sales. Once I figured that out, then group was a natural progression of that. But I would say if you have group facilitation skills, you might want to use that. I'm not detracting it.
And actually, if you use that, you can actually put together a live call where people come in. You can still sell your one-on-one coaching from a group call. You can still sell it. You can also sell a group, but I want to go back to something you said, Faisal, before, is that when Faisal talked about people starting out, one out of 10, that's still a good conversion rate, because Faisal is just starting out this new campaign. He's only at 1 in 12, and he forgot what it's like to be a beginner in that moment where he realized, why did my conversions go down? It's because he's starting something new in a different positioning and in a different messaging and a different campaigning. It's like a whole new thing. The point is, it doesn't tell you anything about you. It tells you about how refined your process is, right? Your conversion rate is really an insight into how refined is your process. The more you refine that process, the better it gets. So like if you go on the street and just talk to random people, it's probably going to be a very low conversion rate. But if you have a way to refine who you talk to, it's going to increase your conversion process. If you have a way to pre-qualify people to have those calls, you're going to increase your conversion process. So it's all about refining your process and sticking with it long enough to do that. Don't quit what you're doing if it's starting to get better, right? If it's starting to work. And sometimes it doesn't feel like it's getting better for a long time, but you got to keep on doing the reps. I can almost guarantee if you do 100 calls with people, you will learn things every call. All you got to do is keep on making those calls, because you can't possibly go call to call to call and not figure something out. It's impossible. You will improve automatically.
Yeah.
Unless you're a robot that doesn't think about the past, right? You can't help it.
Yeah. And I was just actually sharing this with my wife a couple of weeks ago. Like I'm right now, I feel like I'm exactly where I started off when I started my coaching business. And I was like, this is how I feel exactly the same way. There are a couple of differences though. The difference is, one, I'm asking for support. I have communities, I have coaches that are supporting me to move forward. The other difference is that I have confidence and skill. And so this is what you're doing. And I wish in the beginning, when I had gotten started, the first 2 years, I had a community. I had people that were giving me feedback. And even one of our members that talked to me yesterday, and like one of the things he keeps saying, like, I wish I had met you last year when I had 4 months where I wasn't doing anything. And then he even said, I wish I had met you guys 10 years ago, because I've built my coaching business. And now he's like, it feels like a drag, but he's in it. And he was feeling discouraged. And I told him, like, this is the time to start. And by the end of the call,
I was saying that too, Faz. I was saying the same thing. I wish I had a community 10 years ago, like a community like Coaching Mastery Community, which is a sponsor of this podcast. That community allows you to be in the game with other coaches actually running their own sales processes, right? So if you're stuck on one of the steps of the sales process, it's like that's where you can get the feedback. And one of the big challenges in being a coach is sometimes you're just alone doing your thing, researching online, trying ChatGPT stuff. And it's like you actually need the connection and the encouragement to stop from getting stopped, right? Like I would stop, I would get a no, or I get something go wrong. And I would spend 3 months working on my website at the beginning. It's like, because that's way easier for me, because I know how to make progress there, but I don't know how to make progress confronting my fears of getting rejection, so I had to do that. If you had a community, it would be a lot easier.
And like part of it is the fear of rejection, but part of it is most coaches don't understand how business operates, don't understand the simple math of how like these things work. So when I have a question around this stuff, I get on a call with an 8-figure coach, or a 7-figure coach, who are my business coaches, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what did you do differently? Like, these are the things. Then they will ask me some very simple questions, like, where are your leads coming from? What are you doing with them? What's like, how are they coming into the cycle? What's happening in the middle? What's happening? What are you tracking outside of that? Like, they get me to look at data constantly. Like, whenever I talk to them, they get me to look at data. Is like, what they never associate it with, well, what's wrong with you? It's never that conversation. But whenever we're in our head, we don't have data. We don't know how to analyze the data. So it becomes a very personal thing. It becomes an identity thing. It becomes like we start to associate what's wrong with me. And this is what it looks like when you're stuck in your head and when you don't know what to do. And that it takes vulnerability to say that, hey, you know what? I don't know what to do here. Just like I'm raising my hand. I don't know. Let me get that support. And so that's what's happening in our community right now. So if a coach is stuck, we don't just wait for him to come on a call with us one-on-one or group. We're constantly checking in with them in our WhatsApp thread. We have a group that we're keeping on track. Like, what's happening? If we don't hear from them, we need to check in with them. Like, what's happening? What's not happening in your client outreach process? Are you stuck somewhere? Don't wait until our next session. That's what we're trying to do, to make sure that they have that support and they're not getting stuck in their head. And the amazing thing with that is that creates change, that creates accountability, that makes them feel like, okay, I'm not the only one that needs to figure this out. I can tell you this path is difficult enough. You don't want to make it more difficult by just trying to do this on your own and at some point getting stuck for weeks, months, and decades, to be honest, for many coaches.
Yeah, I love that, Faisal. So I want to recap again the sales process and a key question in each area. Step 1, prospecting, that's outreach. Are you consistently reaching out? Are you spending time consistently working on that every single day, every single week, whichever the frequency is for you? Step 2, connecting. Are you checking to connect with people and make sure that they want a coaching conversation? This is where you can make an invitation to them. Like, you don't have to coach them right away. Check, make sure that this is something that you both want. And then step 3, do your coaching and make an offer, which is, are you consistently having calls and refining based on the results of those calls? Your process, refining your process. And then, are you consistently following up with people? Honestly, right now, I'm not. I just moved. My follow-up has dropped off a cliff. I got to work on that. So this is good for me to hear this from myself right now. But step 5, are you doing referrals? Are you asking people in every call, who do you know? How frequently are you doing that? And then step 6, are you maintaining relationships? Are you nurturing people who you've gotten their contact information they're in conversation with you? Are you nurturing and following up with them and maintaining relationships, even if they haven't bought yet or haven't had a call with you?
And if you don't know how to do this stuff, and if you're going to spend the next few years or few months trying to figure out how to do this, you don't need to do that. Just join us in our community, especially if you're listening to this on our YouTube channel or our podcast somewhere. Just click on the link for our website. You will be able to go join our group where we add a lot of value, our Facebook group. Consistently, we're actually, our free Facebook group shares more value a lot of times than a lot of people's paid programs, because we're actually teaching the whole process. We're not holding anything back. Our paid program, our pro membership, is a lot of it is around implementation. We want to hold your hand to move this forward, because we know that that's what it works, especially in the first couple of years of business, is incredibly difficult for most people. This is why a lot of 90% of startups fail, because they don't have the support, and there's lots happening usually. So we want to get you to get to a point where you have 2 or 3 clients so you can invest more in your business. And this is a professional career. You need to invest to move forward. Don't hope that you're just going to figure it out on your own, and you're going to figure out information, but implementation is a whole other story. And on top of that, it is a lot more fun to be part of the community and learn from each other and connect. We just came from a coaches summit. We met a lot of our members. We connected with each other. This process becomes much, much less hard. When you're around other people, it becomes more fun. You get to learn a lot more. So you stop focusing on all the outcomes. You start to focus on the journey of learning and what you're doing in serving clients. And that's what we want for you. So reach out to us, go to our website, join our Facebook group. And those who are in the Facebook group, if you don't know what to do and you just joined, just message us personally. We'll share all the master classes. We've done a master class on marketing, on sales. We have a bunch of resources there. You can just quickly go through and start to kind of get clients right now instead of waiting. And if you still can't do anything, then you will we'd be happy to get on a call with you and support you.
Awesome. Thanks, Faisal, for that. And just, it made me think, the coach's journey. Why is this podcast named? It sounds like it's a typo, right? Shouldn't it be the coach apostrophe S journey? Shouldn't it be the coach's apostrophe journey? No, it's the coach's journey. It's a verb. Coaches are journeying. The coaches, they journey. So remember, this is a journey. We want you to take action as a verb. People in our community are taking action. We're an implementation community. So as the coach's journey together, we want to help each other and raise that tide to lift all the boats. And that is why we do what we do. So thank you for listening to this podcast or watching or wherever you are. If there's a place to comment, make a comment below what you loved about this. If you're just seeing us for the first time, make sure you subscribe and make sure you check out our sponsor, coachingmasterycommunity.com, of which Faisal and I are both members. And next time we'll be happy to have you listen to the podcast again or see you in the community. So until then, have a fantastic day and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
You're listening to the Coach's Journey Podcast.